Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Charter Review Committee agenda. It's the first meeting, the organizational meeting, Tuesday, December 15th at roughly just over 6 o'clock. So first order of business, we're going to pledge allegiance. So you're going to stand and face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I think everyone now should have gotten their packets, so we're just going to go follow the agenda, and I have a lot of things I'll be referring to in here. So right now, the next order of business is we're going to have the Madam Clerk, if you can take a roll call.
Grace Reed.
Here.
Michael Goodfellow.
Present.
Linda Kitchen.
Here.
Sherry Matthews.
Here.
Larry Napier.
Present.
Karen Jordan. Here. Beth Mitchell. Louise Cottenberg.
Here.
Sharon Herman. Here. Patty Sullivan.
Here.
Dave Newhart.
Here.
Amber Serta.
Here.
Bruce Hoffman is absent tonight. John Christino.
Present.
And Vicki Drumheller.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's pretty much 14 out of the 15. I'm shocked that we're able to get everyone here together, so I really appreciate the time and effort you guys made to come here this evening. We're trying to comply with the charter, meaning it had to be done 1 week after you guys all got appointed, but I think we're willing to, in case we couldn't get the quorum, we're willing to push it. But thank God we got it except for one, which is pretty good. That being said, I have just a couple of notes, but everyone has their packet in front of them, correct? I see everyone with the packet, and I assume who's on, Ms. Kitchen's on Zoom? So I assume, Ms. Kitchen, you have your packet as well, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right, perfect. All right, I'm going to follow it per the T, down the letter, and ultimately, by the end of the day, we're going to have a new chair and a new vice chair appointed, and that individual will take over the meeting, and I will just start facilitating from that point on. So some things I do want to go over really quickly. Number one, obviously, we all have a charter in there. You guys are all under the duty and obligation, obviously, now to start reviewing it, and you also have the obligation to ultimately, within 6 months from the time you were appointed, to get back to council with your recommendations. At that point in time, council will have the option to go over your recommendations and move forward with what they want or not. I mean, that's up to council. And I do have a little bit of a history here so you guys can know how it's happened in the past couple of previous. This is my first charter review, by the way. I think, who's done this before? I know Lois has done. How many times have you done it, Lois? You want to come? You want to take over and come over and do it? How long? How many have you had, sir? Wow, ma'am. Wow. So you guys have a lot. Anyone else? So you guys have a lot of experience in doing and reviewing. The charter hasn't changed much, actually. And I can tell you historically, I do have some notes here that back in 2011, I think there was just 8 recommendations that came out of the committee. I'm not sure how much actually went forward, but the last time we were here, which is in 2016, I do have those numbers here. Only 2 recommendations came out of the committee. One had to do with raising the salary, which, wasn't much of a raise, but still, that was one issue that went forward. And the other one was an issue about term limits. And out of those 2, only one went forward, and that was voted down by the electors. And I think the one that went forward was the raises, and it wasn't that much of a raise. But that was shot down. So ultimately, all the work for those 2 recommendations, only one went forward. And it was shot down by the electors. So you guys have a lot at stake here. I really believe, kind of like my predecessors, we are here, and I feel privileged to be here with you guys and working with you guys. because it's not often you get to kind of like, work with the actual, the Constitution. This is what governs your city. This is the relationship that you guys have, meaning the citizens have, with the government, and moving things forward. You guys can, give them the powers, and you can also restrict in the powers. So we'll be going through the charter article by article, and you will ultimately, look forward to hearing all your deliberations. I'll probably be standing back and just let you guys have that deliberation, give you guys a rein. I don't tend to get involved in any way unless I absolutely necessarily have to. This is really a committee for all you guys, and you guys should be in charge in setting forth your recommendations to council. But I did want to touch upon that. I really believe this is a really important part, and I'm privileged to be here, to be able to work with all you guys, because, this is something, number one, you get to read the charter again, but now you're actually nitpicking and you're actually making suggestive changes to council, hopefully for the betterment for the city to move forward. That being said, in the packet, I think we pretty much included everything so you guys can review at your leisure. The very first, my little tab, is the actual charter and the specific revisions that the codes that we're talking about, 5.03 and 2-3-1 and 2-3-2. That pretty much talks about where we are right now with the appointment and what your duties are. Take a look at that on your own time. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask me. The takeaway really from all of this is you have 6 months pretty much to get back to council with your recommendations, and I know we'll get it done in record time, and we're here to help you out. So is the clerk here to help you out. By the way, I didn't introduce myself for you. Still, you don't know me. I apologize. Should have said that first. But there it is, Manny Non Jr. I am the city attorney. I've been here for less than a year now, and it's been hectic. I'm sure you've all followed the news. And it's been hectic for the chartered officers, to say the least. But nonetheless, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be here and working with the city. Behind me is a city manager, if you haven't met him, is Paul Carlisle. And then off to the left there, my left, is a city clerk, Jeanette Williams. We are the 3 chartered officers appointed by council to help the city. So that being said, so that's what I just want to give you guys, just a little overlay of what are the charters that we're talking about. The next big chunk of it is your charter, and hopefully by the end of the day, I will give whoever your chair is my recommendation how to proceed. And I'm sure Lois and the other Mr. Napier, and I forgot who else. I think it was Ms. Mitchell, who has some experience, can probably chime in as well. It's great to have these nameplates everywhere. But that way you guys can chime in and decide how you want to pursue this in the future as far as how do you want to set and divvy up. We have our recommendations, and it seems to work in the past how it's done. But that will be totally up to the committee in this case to decide that. Before we move on, so those are all the regulations that govern us. The next thing I want to do is really briefly, I don't want to go into too much detail, is talk about the open government law. I'm not sure if anyone saw the presentation that I did about a week ago to council. That was a little bit more in depth, but these are similar slides, and I'm just going to cover just a couple quick ones. So if you want to just turn, I'm not sure where it's at, but I'm pretty much looking at these slides like this, and I'm going to be focusing right now just in that very first one. And the takeaway from this slide really is the open government laws are governed by the Florida Constitution. That's what gives us the right to have these meetings, and obviously that's where it came out when it deals with public records. So that's just a quick takeaway there. You flip over the page. Those are the top of that. It talks about the 3 requirements, which this is a committee, this is a board. You guys were appointed, so obviously all these laws do apply to you. And we're going to have to follow those requirements. Obviously, our meetings will be open to the public, that this one is. All meetings need to be noticed. This one's properly noticed by the clerk. And minutes will be taken, and that's what she's doing over there, working on the minutes, not a verbatim minutes, but just transcripts. We can have transcripts for to meet the requirements of the statute. So those are the 3 basic requirements that we have to have: open to the public, notice, and taking minutes. As long as you have those 3 requirements, you'll be fine. The next little block under that is important because that could impact everyone in this room, and of course that's issues we've had in the past, where you have two or more council members, or in this case board members like you, committee members like you guys are, getting together and discussing business about the charter review. That's a no-go. You can't do that. You can't have personal conversations out by Starbucks about what you guys are going to be discussing here, except for tonight, obviously, but in the future, you can't have that kind of conversation with any member of this board. You can have it with me. You can have it with the manager. You can have it with the city clerk. You can even talk to your appointed representative, one of the councilmen. You can have that conversation with them as well. You can even talk to citizens, take their input, but you can't talk amongst yourself unless you're here at this public meeting and duly noticed and taking the minutes. So that's the important takeaway there. When you look at the other page on the flip side to that, does that mean you guys can't socialize? Where it says here, can two members from the same board socialize? Of course you can socialize. Just make sure it doesn't, you don't have any conversation with things that will be before the board or could come before the board, but doesn't mean you guys can't socialize. That last bullet there talks about the sanctions. No, we're not going to have any problems, but feel free to look at that. And as you know, obviously there's been issues with the city in the past. When you flip it over, the second part I want to talk about briefly is just the public records. The biggest takeaway here really is that, I'll read if I can see my notes here, but the bottom line is anything that you do that's germane to this meeting, anything that you receive, paperwork, emails, anything at all that has to do with this committee is a public record. And I would strongly advise getting that over to the clerk so she can preserve that record. That's just the biggest takeaway that you guys need to know. Anything that's germane to this meeting, this committee, anything you receive pertaining to this council meeting, this committee has to be preserved and given over to the clerk. That's the biggest takeaway there. And pretty much that's it. I'm not going to belabor it. Emails, and there's a definition of what public records mean by definition. The very last slide I'm going to show to you, and I'm going to defer this. I apologize. The very last sheet of paper, I will defer to the person who's voted for as chair. But those were tentative schedules that the clerk and I worked out for you guys. We don't need, as a committee at this point, to pick every single date tonight. I would just suggest let's just get through this meeting, introduce ourselves, vote for your chair and vice chair, and maybe just pick your next date in January, and then we can work on, after that, your chair can work on additional dates. What we did here, so that you will understand, is when you see the dates, off to the right, you see all those dates. So, for example, in January, except for January 11th and January 12th, that's going to be a no-go for me, for the clerk, and for the city manager, because that's the trial day, the trial week, and we have to be prepared to testify. So we're not going to be able to make those dates. But any other dates you guys can pick. And all those dates have been verified already by the clerk. That's why we put those dates there, that there's no conflict with this chamber at that point in time. You also see there that open and close paren, that was what I was referring to. Our recommendation to the committee is break it up into articles. There's 6 articles. We don't have that much time. Article 1 and 2, we recommend doing it next month, and vice versa, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. The meats and potatoes, for lack of a better phrase, of the charter really is Article 2 and Article 3. A little bit about Article 2, but those are really the big. Article 4. I'm sorry, but Article 2 and 3 are the nuts and bolts, I believe, of the council of the charter that you guys will probably spend more time going over. So if we do it that way, it'll give us an extra meeting time that we can probably go back in time and revisit everything. I am going to try my best. I'm pretty good. I may bring my laptop next time. And Jeanette is pretty good as well, taking these notes. But if we do come up with suggestive language, what I will try to do is type it up, just like negotiations. If anyone's been involved in union negotiations, I'm going to treat it like a negotiations. I hear what's going on. I take it back. I'll type up what I think is a suggestive article change, and then I'll give it to the clerk so she could divvy it up amongst all you guys. So when we come back, we have that to review. So that's what I hope to do as well, is be able to at least participate that way and help you guys out. You noticed there at the end, obviously, the public advertisement. I wouldn't worry much about that right now, but unfortunately or fortunately, by law, we're going to have to do 2 public meetings, and they have to be 14 days apart. So that's just the dates in May. So again, this is just, don't have to do it today. This is just a tentative schedule that we kind of worked out. So when you look at all that, it pretty much takes us from today to the day we have to, Jeanette and I have to prepare this and get it out to the supervisors of election, which is prepare the ballots. So all that takes into account the first reading, the second reading, and you can just read it. If you have any questions about that, feel free to either call me and or any of us and ask me. I think that is pretty much it that I want to cover. And just to make you understand that, you know, my role, I really believe, is as a facilitator. I'm not here to run this meeting. This meeting is going to be run by your chair, who you guys appoint, and the vice chair, if that person cannot be there. And this is your meeting to deliberate and to bring the recommendations, and we will try to help you guys if we need assistance. Now, and I will also recommend to the chair that if they want to invite people to come, they can invite people like the manager, who if he wants to speak in front of you about, you know, his experience, you know, specifically our experience with Article 2s and 3s, you know, and where we see pitfalls, that's fine. You guys can do that or not. But we're here to help you, and you guys can bring anyone if you guys want to come and talk to you guys when you're discussing specific articles. The other thing I do want to mention is it already passed. There's a new resolution, 2034. I'll get you guys a copy for next time, Jeanette. Resolution 2034. This is it's been signed already. This is the new rules. We've amended the last one, which I think was 2002, which were the rules that applied to the board, and those rules apply to you guys as well, just so you can have a working knowledge. And the main thing that when it comes to those rules is public input. So public will be part of the agenda. We will put out those agendas. Notices need to go out timely. Sufficient notice, and so, you know, like next time when you talk about your articles, if you members of the public are here, of course we have Zoom as well, you'll have to let them, you know, before you finally make your final recommendations or move on while you're deliberating, you need to ask members of the public to chime in as well. So we gotta make sure we comply with that part of the statute. So that being said, I really got nothing else to say, believe it or not, from a lawyer. But what I do want to do now, since this is really pretty big, and you're about to do a pretty important role, and that is to appoint your next chair. And since I don't know all of you, I only know a couple of you. A couple of you have run for office as well, which I've known. I read your biographies that you submitted with the city. Other than that, I don't know, but I'm not voting. So I'm sure you guys all want to know who's present. And while we go around the room, yes, we're going to go around the room. If you don't want to be considered for a chair, just say it. That way, someone might be thinking about you to appoint you. But if you are interested, yeah, you're interested in the chair or vice chair or whatever, or not. So with that, I already introduced myself. So I'm going to go to my right and start with you. So you give us your name and just really briefly, if we can move. And what would you like to for the committee to know about you?
Okay, my name is Grace Reed. I have been here in Sebastian for just a little less than 2 years. I lived here back in 1980 through 88 before I moved up to Virginia for some time. And once I retired, we came back. I've just been interested in being involved, you know, in what's going on with the city and just seeing just how it's run and things like that. I don't think I'm ready to be a chair at this time, but I'm just happy to be here, and that my career was always in retail grocery, but I was an auditor for a company doing compliance audits, and I was a certified fraud examiner for quite some time, for almost 20 years. But right now I'm inactive on that, so that's pretty much all.
Okay. Matthew?
Hi, I'm Sherry Matthews, and I've been in the Sebastian area for a few years, but I've been in Indian River County for a little over 47 years, and we moved my family lives up here, and I've been involved in the community for Indian River County for many years, and I worked for the government, did government work for a little over 37 years total. So my experience is writing policies, initiative and referendum, sitting in Tallahassee and going and coming up with rules and laws and ordinances and those types of things. That's my background, and I'm excited to be involved in this and to learn more and to become more a part of the city. So it's great to be in here.
Make sure you turn on your mic before you start. And one more thing I want to say, I think everyone already feels comfortable removing their masks. We are basically 6 feet apart, so we're socially distancing, so if you guys feel more comfortable, take them off. If you walk around, just put them back on. All right, ma'am?
Hi, my name is Karen Jordan. I have lived now in Sebastian for 7 months. I moved from Central Florida, if you would, Winter Park, that's Seminole County, Volusia County, and Orange County. Sebastian's like a fairyland for me. It's just a perfect little place to live, and I want to see if I can't be part of learning what's made it that way. I'm really glad we have people here that have been on the committee, this committee before, because I don't have a clue. I think I have a clue, but I don't really have a clue. So I'm just glad y'all are here, and it tells me something that you've come back so that you can continue to make changes. And already the experience that I've heard from the two ladies before me, you know, it sounds very good. Thank you.
I needed to really start getting involved and see how to stop situations from happening and how to watch our city stay, how amazing it is.
Hi, my name is Patty Sullivan, and I've lived in Sebastian for 9 years. My greatest achievement is being married to my husband for 32 years. And after 17 years of trying, we had a miracle child, and she's going to be 16 in January. I've served on a number of different boards here locally in Indian River County, and then I do a lot of extensive work legislatively in Tallahassee, and also teach kids in Tallahassee from all over the state of Florida. They come once a year to learn about government and how to function in government. And we have teenagers come to our house every single month on a Friday night and learn about civics, about all things Founding Fathers. I don't think I'd be able to chair because I have some travel in January and then in getting ready for the legislative session. So I'm happy to Zoom in, though. Thank you.
My name's Dave Newhart. I'm an Air Force veteran. I've lived here in Sebastian since '07, so that makes it 13 years. I got involved in politics here because of a lot of certain reasons that happened to our council recently. But also I've been very involved in the community. Beth knows me from chamber meetings and things like that. I serve as a director on the board of, I serve as a director at large on the board for the Veterans Council of Indian River County. I just recently retired as an Episcopal quasi-retired, let me put it that way. And I wanted to be a part of this because I think Sebastian really has some of the finest qualities of any city that I have been to, and it is paradise, and I want to make sure we keep it that way and that's one of the reasons why I volunteered to do this, and I look forward to working with you. And on December 19th, Air Force will beat Army in the Army-Air Force game.
Commissioner, thank you, Barb. I served 5 years ago and really found the process to be fascinating. It is the one time in a 5-year period where you can take a look at how we are being governed from 30,000 feet instead of being in the trenches. So it's interesting to me that our citizens have the opportunity to contribute and be part of that. I've been in the Sebastian River area about 25 years now. So, thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Cristino. Been a resident of Sebastian now for about 3 years. I currently serve on the Planning and Zoning Committee. Just had the pleasure of wrapping up our 2040 comprehensive plan. It was a big lift, and a lot of work, and I was proud to be a part of that. Also, like many of you, got involved after the fracas and the chaos of the past year, and felt that this is a productive way to address possibly not having that happen again. And that's about it. I'm happy to serve with the rest of you. Nice to meet you all.
Good evening. I'm Larry Napier. I've been in the city for a little over 33 years now. I'm a retired local government finance director. For about 44 years I did that, 33 of them in the state of Florida. I was vice chairman of the first charter review committee when this city first did it back in the 90s. And I was chairman for the next 2 5-year terms. I'm presently on the charter review, or on the Sebastian Budget Review Committee, and I guess that's about it.
Hi, my name is Vicki Drumheller, and I've lived in Sebastian for a little over 30 years. I recently sold my businesses and retired, and prior to I traveled all over Florida for the businesses that I had, and Sebastian is just a little piece of paradise. I've been very involved in regulatory pieces with the feds and the state. In the business I had, I'm a registered nurse, and I ran medical home, in-home care businesses. I'm very interested in the charter because it's where it all starts. It's what it's all about. Now that I have a little more time on my hands, I really want to be involved because I think that our community is growing. Controlling growth is very important, and we still feel like a village, and isn't that the most fabulous thing when I've been here for 30 years and seen so much growth, and it's still Sebastian, and it's still about the river, and it's still about the wonderful parks that we have. So I'm very excited to be part of this committee and hope that I can give a little bit of insight from someone that's been around in other areas.
My name is Michael Goodfellow. I too was involved with the recent fracas here in Sebastian. I've been a Sebastian resident since 2003. I'm a local licensed private investigator and process server with the Circuit Court. My goal is to see that the charter has a fresh set of eyes looking at it, see what changes, if necessary, should be considered, and if so asked, I would be happy to either be the chair or the vice chair of this organization. I feel that, the city has grown greatly over the past 17 years, but we are going to continue to grow. And hopefully our city government can help us grow with it. Thank you very much.
I'm Louise Cottenberg. I've lived in Sebastian about 25 years. I've always been involved in things that go on with the city. I've been a member of every committee that's ever been, I'm pretty sure, except for the Finance Committee. I tend to be more of a word person than a number person, although they do a fabulous job. I'm really happy to be here again. Every time that I have been a member of this committee, we always come out with suggestions for improvements, but everything that we do has to appear on the ballot, and the wording has to be very specific. It's very difficult to get all of the things that need to be into the charter in a format that would be appropriate for a ballot. It's also very difficult to get things out of the charter that shouldn't be there, like some of the things with livestock, which we don't do anymore, but anyway, each time we've ended up with what we thought was the best we could do at the time, and yet here again we find out it wasn't good enough. So I think the city is very smart to be looking at our charter every 5 years, because as times change, we need to make changes, and we never know what can happen until it happens. So here we are, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm really glad to be surrounded by all of you folks, because I know most of you have a keen interest in keeping this city as good as it can be, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Amber Serta. I've been in Sebastian about 4 years now, but lifelong Indian River County resident. I used to live in Fellsmere. I was semi-involved in the community there, and I'm excited to grow my resume in Sebastian. I am also on the budget committee, and I think, like Louise said, you can't really blame past charter committees for whatever happened. You know better, you do better. So now we know better, and we're going to do better, and I'm looking forward to this experience. Thank you.
Okay.
We have Linda Kinchin.
Oh, yes. In Zoom, we have one more committee member. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, my name is Linda Kinchin. I'm a former City of Sebastian employee and councilwoman. I got on the Charter Review Committee to continue doing the good things that the city always wants to look at, and I want to make sure that we stay going in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay. No one else on Zoom. Good. I'm glad I'm not going to be appointing the next person. You guys have, and I appreciate everyone. Obviously, the 5 council members thought hard about the candidates that they want, and you all bring a different perspective toward the city. You all have experience working in council, experience working with the city, and just experience in general, which will be helpful. And like I said before, it's a privilege to be working with you. I look forward to just sitting back there and just listening to you guys deliberate when it comes to these articles. So that being said, I know you don't want to hear me talking anymore. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to take nominations, and then we're going to vote for a chair. And then after we do that, this gavel goes back to that chair, and that chair then's responsibility will be taking over the rest of the meeting. So that chair will be then taking nominations for the vice chair, and then through the finishing of the agenda, which is not much left. So that being said, I'm going to open up the floor, and I'm going to take names. I'm going to open up the floor to anyone who would start with the chair. Are there any suggestions from anyone for chair?
Nominate Beth Mitchell.
Beth Mitchell? Okay. Okay, hold on. Only one person at a time. So, Beth. You can't nominate yourself, by the way. Okay, anyone else besides Beth Mitchell?
I'd like to nominate Louise Cottenberg.
I'm sorry?
Louise Cottenberg.
Okay. Lois K., like I call her. Next, in the corner, any other besides Lois K. and Beth Mitchell? I'm sorry? Is your mic on?
Larry Napier, please.
Larry Napier. Okay, so we have 3 so far. We have a Beth Mitchell, we have a Lois Kay, and Larry Napier. Anyone else for chair? And then there'll be opportunities to vote for vice chair. Okay, hearing nothing, we're going to close it. Okay, at this point in time, then we're just going to go through the first name, write down, and see how many we get to vote, and I'll count hands. So the first candidate we had was for Beth Mitchell. This is for chair, and you're going to vote once. So who supports the candidate for chair for Beth Mitchell? And in this case, you can't vote for yourself.
You can or you cannot?
Say again?
You can or you
You
cannot?
can, yeah, you can. Of course you can.
My.
Hands up, hands up.
I can't raise my hand, but I vote for Beth.
You raise your hand too?
I raise my hand too.
Okay. Hands up again. Okay, I count 9. Okay, thank you. Next candidate would be for Lois Kay, who for Lois Kay to be chair. Lois, you can vote for yourself too.
I can't,
Sure you can. 3, if you want to. 1, 2, 3, 5. All right, and for Larry Napier, last candidate. Okay, well with that, and then we're going to go down to vice chair. With that, then you have voted for Beth Mitchell. You're going to be our chair, and I will give the gavel over to you with the honor. Here you go. So congratulations. Or condolences, according to the city manager. I didn't say that.
Thank you,
But I want to make sure he has heard what he said. All right, listen, so at this point in time, you're going to take over, and now you're going to take the same thing like I did for the vice chair, I'm sure you know, and then we'll continue the agenda. So it's all yours, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence. I appreciate that, but I really do appreciate everybody sitting here, too. So I guess the next item is to appoint a vice chair, so I will take nominations. I'm sorry? I can't hear you. John?
I nominate Louise Cottenberg.
And Karen, you
Larry Napier.
Larry Napier. Okay. We have John Cristiano, Louise Cottenberg, and Larry Napier. So I'll start with John. All in favor of John being the vice chair, raise your hand, please. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. And Louise Cottenberg being the vice chair. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have my hand up. I don't know if you can see it.
Thank you, Linda. And Larry Napier being vice chair. Okay, so we now have a tie between Louise and John. So I'll try it again. All in favor of John Cristiano?
I had 6 votes for Lois.
I'm sorry?
I had 6 for Lois and 5 for John. Did I miss something?
It's Louise, but
Louise.
I counted 5.
You didn't count. Did you count the woman, Miss Kitchen? She was a 6th one.
All right, let's just raise your hand again for Louise.
6, yeah.
You were right.
Don't forget
Thank you, Mr. Anand. Louise, you are our vice chair.
I've always wanted to be in charge of vice. Thank you.
And you'll do a good job. All right. The next item is to establish the time and frequency of meetings, but I liked your suggestion, Manny, to just go with trying to figure out a January date at this point for our next meeting. And if I heard you correctly, you said the 11th and the 12th were not good for you?
That's correct. For the charter officers, the 11th and 12th will not be good for us.
Okay. Does anybody have any preference for the 14th, the 19th, or the 26th? Okay.
I prefer any day except Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Linda?
Any day except Tuesday is good for me.
How about the 19th? It kind of feels like that's where we are.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time hearing.
I would suggest the 14th and the 28th because they're 2 weeks apart.
Well, Mike, we have one member that can't be here on the 14th. Pardon? That's what I'm working on, is the 19th.
That's a Tuesday, and Linda can't be here.
And Linda can't make it. All right.
Just to be clear, Madam Chair, we don't need to pick 2 dates. I mean, we don't need to meet twice in January. I think the goal is to try to meet.
I'm just working towards one. Let's go back to the 14th. We have one member that cannot make it. Is that good for everybody else? You would prefer that?
Mm-hmm.
What is the day of that meeting?
It's a Thursday.
Well, it might be a problem for me. Let's try the 19th one more time. Everybody good with the 19th? Louise, you're
What's
good?
your date set? The 19th?
The 19th.
That will be a Tuesday.
That is a Tuesday.
I can do it by Zoom, probably.
Okay. All right, it sounds like the 19th it is.
Beth, are all our meetings going to be at 6 p.m.?
I believe so, yes. Do we have any other staff matters? Jeanette, do you have anything you want to share with us?
Madam Chair, if you all would just cross out February 16th, I think I crossed it out so hard. That's when President's Day is, and we'll be closed.
The 16th?
Is that the one after the 11th? I crossed it off so hard I can't read it. Okay, we'll be closed that day.
On the 16th. All right, so we'll take that one out of the lineup. But we're not talking about February today.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other staff matters? Mr. Carlisle, do you have anything you want to say to us?
No, I just appreciate y'all's participation. If there's any questions you need me to answer, or anything you need from me, I'd be happy to answer for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I do have an alibi. Again, of course, lawyers have to talk, but again, just remember, we'll give you guys the rules so you guys can have it, which is Resolution 2034, so you'll know more or less what, how we're going to be governing here and the procedures. And the other thing about assignments, Madam Chair, I'm not sure, are you also accepting the recommendations for the committee to do their homework and review Article 1 and 2 for the February meeting, or you want to decide how you guys want to divvy up the assignments? I mean January meeting, I'm sorry.
I have no problem with the way that you've divvied it up, but let's see what the group has to say. Anybody have any comment on that?
I don't see a problem with it, Beth.
Okay. So we're looking, at our next meeting, we will be tackling Article 1 and 2.
Yes, ma'am. So I asked all the committee members to read 1 and 2. Feel free to talk to your duly elected official who appointed you here if they have any recommendations, and come prepared to deliberate, and we'll take as much notes as we can and take as long as we have to on January. So I appreciate it.
Committee member matters. Does anybody have anything they want to raise tonight? No? Linda? Okay, items for the next agenda. I did want to make a comment. The last time we did this, we did tackle it article by article, but we also discovered that there were issues on the members' minds that they wanted to talk about. And I get the feeling that there are some issues that are already out there based on what has happened in the last year. So I think if we could have an item on the agenda to have that discussion, where if somebody says, you know, after what happened last year, I think we need to do this. And it may be outside of the articles that we're working on, or it may come up in one of the articles later on. But I think we should get flesh some of those issues out as soon as possible. So if we could have an item on the agenda for the next time to do that. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I believe that will fall under that item 6, committee matter members. If they have any issues, they can mention it. However, I would just strongly advise, because we're all have issues with what went on, but by tackling it article by article, our recommendation is how it's worked in the past. This is the best way of doing it. But feel free during your matters, if you want to digress into, Marches or April, that's fine, if that's what you want to do, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Dave?
I was just going to suggest that, and I agree with you, Beth, on, us kind of taking a look ahead of time as to what it is, and maybe as we get closer, really kind of focus on Article 1 and 2, but there's other things. If we're doing our homework ahead of time and reading these, we can always flag down where our issues are and maybe have that already as a precursor to when we get to that article. And if we can get some of those ideas out in front, fleshed ahead, then we're thinking ahead and we're not going to be stuck in this mundane or the minutia of arguing back and forth. We can get the points going and identify them ahead of time, and then we have a focus of our conversation.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other comments? Well, my final comment would be to wish everybody, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sharon.
Her microphone on?
I'm a newbie, but the way I understand it, Article 2 addresses the council eligibility and things like that, so I think a lot of what you're talking about is going to fall into that section, so maybe next meeting might be the time to get it all hashed out.
Okay, good. Well, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, we can always, if it gets too long of a meeting, we can always table some of it to take it over to the next meeting, and that way we're not staying here till 10 o'clock at night, which nobody really wants to do.
No, I don't think so.
Just my suggestion.
Another suggestion, if we do get bogged down in an article, is to opt to having a second meeting for that month to discuss it.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so my final comment was just to wish everybody a happy holiday. Be safe. Wash your hands. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you got to adjourn the meeting.